Nice afternoon in advance of curiously, May 2-4 weekend, as it's known in some provinces, and it's not May 2-4, but the long weekend. It's good to see that snow is coming in Calgary. It's some things never change, as I recall. And I want to thank my parliamentary colleagues, Minister Olszewski, Matt Genereux, and Corey Hogan, joining us here today, MPs for Alberta. And this is a great day. It's a great day for Alberta. It's a great day for Canada. But I want to just explain for a moment before I take your questions why we're here. Because none of this, and a lot of great things are going to happen, but none of this is going to happen without skilled workers. And we're here at UA 496, a union that represents, has more than 2,000 members. 2,000 members, of course, the journeymen, the pipe fitters, the plumbers, of course, and other unions, electricians, carpenters, others, across this great country, are going to build Canada strong. And one of the things that the government, the federal government, has been focused on is the scale of what we're building and what we're going to build is going to mean that we need literally hundreds of thousands of more skilled tradespeople. And so a few weeks ago, we announced a $6 billion program to flow through the unions, to flow through the technical colleges, say, for example, here in Calgary, so that we can train more apprenticeships, so that those individuals who make that decision can flow seamlessly through, that they're supported financially as they go through, so they get completion bonuses when they finish, and so they can get out directly onto the job sites. That's what's going to help build this country. And when you look at just even in the last few days, what we've announced is the scale of those new job opportunities. Yesterday, we announced a electricity strategy, the federal government going out to consult on this, working with the provinces, other stakeholders, doubling the size of our electricity grid over the course of the next couple of decades. That's hundreds of thousands of jobs that will be created just in the process of building that. Of course, many more in the businesses that use that power. And then today, with the accord, the implementation agreement with Alberta, the Government of Canada, 50,000 jobs across a wide range of activities, doubling the grid here, building an entirely new industry in carbon capture, building a low-carbon pipeline to Asia, which makes the country more independent, more resilient, more sustainable. This is Canada working. This is Canada and Alberta working together. Brighter future for those apprentices in the other room. Those, I hope if you're watching this, who are thinking about going in the trades, thinking about becoming engineers, thinking of working, building this great country, this great province, now is the time to sign up, because we are going to build this country strong. We're building it strong for all. Quelques mots en français. C'est un grand jour pour la grande province, ma province, de l'Alberta et pour le Canada. Parce qu'on indique aujourd'hui, le Premier ministre Smith et moi et nos collègues, que le Canada fonctionne. Il fonctionne pour tous les Canadiens, toutes les Canadiennes, tous les Albertains et Albertains. Et dans le processus, on va créer des milliers et milliers de bons jobs, de bonnes carrières pour nos jeunes. Alors, avec tout cela, I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
G'day, Prime Minister. Emma Graney from the Globe and Mail. I want to ask you, you just said it's Canada working, but what about BC consultations, specifically around the pipeline? I mean, you're looking at a conditions document September 27, first or potentially 2033. That's extremely quick. So how are you going to get them on side and conduct sufficient consultations when you don't even have a route or anything until October?
Well, thank you for the question. And I had a regular speak with Premier Eby. He and I had a good conversation yesterday about a range of subjects, including aspects of what we announced today. I'm looking forward, actually, I will be seeing the Premier in Vancouver next week, and we will address a series of issues directly in the interests of British Columbia, as well as issues in partnership with the Government of Canada, Government of Alberta, if aspects of this, or as aspects of this agreement move forward. So How do we do it, which was your question? We do it as we did here, through cooperation, through open dialogue, working together, making sure, as I said in my remarks, standing alongside Premier Smith a few hours ago, that the people of British Columbia benefit from projects that touch them. And of course, before all of that, and fundamentally, is we respect and fully fulfill our responsibilities for free, prior, informed consent, standard consultations with Indigenous partners.
Great, thanks. Next question.
Robert Tuttle, Bloomberg. I just wanted to ask you, the document says Canada will update its federal carbon pricing benchmarks to ensure it's consistent with the Alberta agreement.
Yeah.
So does that mean that the timeline and pricing will apply to all provinces as well, or the rest of the?
Yeah, thank you, Robert. It's an important question, and in essence, yes, is the short answer. Obviously, we consult with the provinces as part of that process. That process of indication to the provinces has begun with prior to the announcement of the actual agreement, and we'll consult with the provinces, and there'll be a consistency with the intention of having a consistency across in terms of the federal, as you know, but the federal backstop. For others, just to be clear, they're very different structures of carbon markets across the country, and Alberta's is unique. This tier market, as it's called, is unique in that it's intended to be a fully functioning market. I think one of the things I would take away from today's agreement, there's a lot of aspects to the changes of the carbon market, is that this is to make that market fully function, to function as a market, to have a trading price, to move. In order to do that, we need to move, and this will be my last part of my answer, move through a period of absorbing an excess of credits, over the course of the next several years, and then move into that market.
Thank you.
Hi, Amanda Stevenson, Reuters. Are you completely confident that a private sector proponent exists for this pipeline? And if so, when would you expect to see a commercial open season or some other formal expression of interest from the private sector?
So thank you. That first point is just in terms of the dynamics here is, of course, Alberta is the one proposing the pipeline or bringing forward a private proponent for the pipeline. So that's a process that's underway with them. I will leave it more to them to be more explicit in terms of the answer, but certainly their expectation, and it shows in terms of the effort that's been put into the agreement, the specificity around the agreement, the timelines for the agreement. The expectation is that that will be the case, and then what follows from that is there's a sequencing regulatory. Well, there's a consultation sequencing with Indigenous peoples. There's a work with the province of British Columbia, moving through those and moving to that October date. And I just want to be very clear to everyone, you have a moving towards a designation, if various things are met, designation by the Major Project Office as a nation-building project. But then there's a process of consultation to determine the conditions around that project as well. And to answer your question, through all of that, a private proponent can be building out the open season, if you will, the backstop of the barrels associated with that. Okay.
Adam McVicker with Global News in Calgary. If I could get a response in English and for our friends in French as well. If you were still in the private sector, Prime Minister, would you invest in this pipeline given the uncertainty around the separation referendum and its dependence on pathways?
Well, c'est une bonne question, et tout d'abord, je voudrais vous remercier de poser votre question dans les deux langues officielles. Mais au fond, c'est une question pour les gens dans le secteur privé. Mais comme j'ai dit à côté du Premier ministre Smith, dans l'ensemble, on a vu avec cette entente entre le Canada et Alberta, un Canada qui fonctionne, un Canada où les règles sont claires et prévisibles, où on va créer un vrai marché pour le prix du carbone, par exemple, et des grandes occasions pour l'énergie à faible émission, faible coût, et dans un domaine avec des risques très bas. Un domaine fiable. I will switch to English and I'll start where I ended. If you look at the overall picture, and I see this when I meet people in Asia, leaders in Asia, business people in Asia, on behalf of Canada. How are we viewed? We are viewed as a reliable country in a world that's anything but. We're viewed as a country that when we sign something, we honor it. We're viewed as a country that is now on the move, a country with ambition, with confidence, moving forward, a country that intends to build big. We're viewed as a country that is both an energy superpower and believes in addressing climate change. And so the ability to combine all of that is very, very attractive to Asian partners. Now, another component, I'm sorry, just in the translation, but of my answer, but it's fundamental to your question, is what does today's accord, our implementation agreement as it's called, what does it tell us? It's that the country works. The Government of Canada, the Government of Alberta coming together, challenging issues, but coming together with a common solution, a country with clear rules, predictable rules, carbon markets that's going to function, contracts for differences and other support and incentive mechanisms that are put in place, and it's moving forward. So all of that, if I were in the private sector, and I'm never going to be in the private sector again, but if I were, those are the components that get you interested, and I think there'll be a lot of interest here.
Pouvez-vous être plus clair en français? Si vous étiez dans le secteur privé, vous investisseriez dans
Ah,
un
non,
tel projet?
non, c'est pas. J'ai déjà répondu pour un certain temps en français. Alors, attends. Okay.
Cormac McSweeney with City News. I'm wondering if you could tell us what, in terms of figures, are the actual emissions reductions you expect out of today's deal, and then what is your message to environmental groups who have a long list of releases right now calling this deal today a betrayal, a bulldozing of environmental protections, gutting a major climate tool, harming our future, and abandoning international commitments, and putting net zero by 2050 firmly out of reach?
Well, first, let me start at the end and let me go through it. What we have today is an agreement between the Government of Canada and the Government of Alberta committing to net zero 2050. Both of us committing to net zero 2050. Not committing in a speech, not committing rhetorically, committing with a series of investments and commitments and market frameworks that are going to move the province, going to move the country towards low emission and to net zero. Net zero, the environment respects, or is a function of emissions. It's physics. It's what actually happens. And in order to change what actually happens, you have to go out in that room. You have to get some of those apprentices when they get their Red Seal trades. You have to go to a job site. You have to build things like the Oil Sands Alliance Pathways Project, which is going to take 16 megatons of carbon out of the atmosphere every year, equivalent of 90% of the cars coming off the road in Alberta every year. Once you take 90% off, you can't take another 9, but you get the point. It's moving to a carbon market that functions. Let's put this in context. Before we started these negotiations, before the MOU, the carbon price trading in the tier market was $20. Okay? Not the $95, now $110 of the headline price, $20. That was the actual price. That's the actual price that determines the investment decision of businesses. Now, what are we doing? We're putting in place frameworks, changing the way the market works, a floor price, contracts for differences, skin in the game from the Government of Alberta, skin in the game from the Government of Canada, so that we have a functioning market. We have an effective price, 2040, that's 6.5 times that price that it was before the MOU. I'll tell you something else, which is that the fact of the MOU, the fact that we're making progress, the fact that the Government of Alberta, the Government of Canada are both committed to developing a real carbon market has moved the carbon price up. It's $40 now, right? This is not just correlation. It's actually consistent with the market moving forward. So when you look at and I'll give you one last, Cormac, one last thing to answer your question, which is that the pipeline to Asia, as we know, the process of bringing oil out of the oil sands, SAGD process, other processes, and shipping creates emissions, so-called Scope 1, Scope 2 emissions. This deal more than compensates for those emissions. It's a net negative on the thing. That's how you make progress. I've been an environmentalist, my career, UN Special Envoy on climate action. Those last two words, climate action. This is climate action. This is investment. This is moving forward.
We're just coming up to time, so we'll do
Hi.
one last question here and then one question in French to Dominique. Merci.
Hi, Prime Minister Mark Carney with CTV Calgary. Chiefs from Sturgeon Lake Cree Nation and Mikisew Cree First Nation, they put out an open letter today. They say Ottawa has failed to respond to their concerns about Alberta's separatism and treaty rights. Just wondering, what's your response to their call for the federal government to more forcefully defend Treaty Number 8 and national unity as well?
Well, I'd say a couple of things. Obviously, we fully respect the treaty rights, and with respect to today's announcement and the aspects of today's announcement, underscore our commitment for free, prior, and informed consent, full consultations on all aspects associated, and more than that, too. I'll get to your question, but more than that, which is economic participation, proper and full economic participation, including ownership, that the federal government would facilitate. So that's first, just in terms of this. In terms of the referendum, it's not news. It would have been reported on CTV, as well as all other outlets. The legal challenge, we were aware of the legal challenge with respect to the treaty rights that had been brought, including by Sturgeon, and that we. That process unfolded as it is. There's subsequent, the government of Alberta has indicated intention to appeal. There will be subsequent determinations. We, and I'm, as Prime Minister, I'm very conscious of respecting legal processes, particularly those that are underway. When there is, under the Clarity Act, a referendum around separation, we as parliamentarians have a direct responsibility. We have a responsibility to judge the clarity of the question that meets those standards and other standards. I think what is crucial is that all rights are respected through this process, any democratic process. The right to privacy, Indigenous rights, clarity of the question, and a full understanding of the Federation. But what today is about Canada working, cooperative federalism, coming together, making an agreement, moving forward, creating a better future for our kids and grandkids, including, I strongly going to stress this, including with respect to the environment, because this is climate action alongside providing energy security and bright future for our kids.
Monsieur Carney, vous aviez été clair, vous aviez dit qu'il n'y aurait pas d'oléoduc sans projet de capture de carbone Pathways. Est-ce qu'aujourd'hui vous pouvez être clair et nous dire que sans promoteur privé, il n'y aura pas d'oléoduc?
Ouais, il faut avoir, premièrement, je veux répéter, pas d'oléoduc sans Pathways. Et comme j'ai dit il y a quelques heures, tout est connecté. Tous les aspects de cet accord, de cette entente, sont connectés. Les réductions de méthane, des changements dans le marché du carbone qui fonctionne. Les contrats de différence, c'est 1,2 milliard de dollars, 75 mégatonnes. 75 mégatonnes seulement dans les contrats de différence. Les changements dans le marché pas le marché, mais dans le marché pour les renouvelables ici en Alberta. C'est des grands changements. OK? Et alors, tout est connecté, et y compris, c'est la responsabilité d'avoir un promoteur privé. C'est la responsabilité du province de l'Alberta. In English, everything's connected. The question was specifically about a private sector proponent, and that's the responsibility of the province of Alberta. The point I was making is that because the introduction to the question raised the connection between Pathways and the pipeline, and it's been clear from the start, as as a requirement that no pathways, no pipeline, and that's very clear in the agreement. But I think there's a more fundamental point which we agree on. To be clear, this is Alberta and Canada coming together. It's about having a carbon market that functions, so that aspect of the agreement. It's about the methane reductions. It's about a series of changes in the renewable market here, which will help that come in as a complement. It includes the changes to the clean, proposed changes to the clean electricity regulations, which are referenced, and all of which puts together a package, and I will repeat in French if you wish, puts together a package that creates opportunity, creates energy security, reduces emissions, and is affordable for Albertans and Canadians. Affordable today and affordable tomorrow. So everything has to fit together, and the combination here does, which is why we're very proud to have this agreement, and we will do everything to implement it. Et finalement, en français, et en même temps, au bout de ligne, c'est une question d'abordabilité pour les Canadiens et Canadiens. Et tous les changements, les trajets de réduction d'émissions, les changements proposés dans les réglementations de l'électricité, tout cela rend une transition énergétique qui est fiable et abordable. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great.